A sentence based on structure can be of three types: simple, compound, and complex. In today's lesson, we'll learn how we can express the same idea into different grammatical form. But focus will remain on turning or transforming a simple sentence into a compound sentence interchangeably. Having said that, we cannot transform each and every sentence into other form. So before moving on, let me quickly brief you about a clause and a sentence. So clause has a subject and a verb. There are various types of clauses: main clause and subordinate clause. So a main clause is a clause which has a meaning on its own, or which can stand alone on its own. And let me give you an example. I wake up in the morning. So I is the subject and wake up is the verb. So this sentence has its own meaning. It can stand alone. It is not depending on others to provide the complete information. So this is an example of main clause, or we can call it as an independent clause. The other type of clause is subordinate clause, which can stand alone. Therefore, they are called as dependent clauses. Let me give you an example on this. When the sun is high in the sky. To look at the sentence now. Does it have a subject and a verb? Yes, it has a subject and a verb. The sun is, right. But does this sentence have a complete information, or do you call it as a complete thought? I guess no, because you are left wondering, when the sun is high in the sky, then what happened? Now this sentence, to have a meaning or to function properly, needs an independent clause to function properly, to have a complete meaning. Therefore, they are called as subordinate clause and a dependent clause, right? So a sentence has a clause. It can either a main clause or a subordinate clause. I want to rephrase it. It can either have a dependent clause or a independent clause. So accordingly, a simple sentence is a sentence which has only a main clause, no subordinate clause, and therefore one finite verb. Now, what is a finite verb? A finite verb is a verb that changes or that agrees with the subject and the time aspect of a sentence. For example, if you take the verb no, or you can take any other verb. I'm taking an example of the verb no. And if I choose the subject she, in the present time, I will talk like she knows, and if I turn my subject from she to I will say I know for the present time. Now, if I want to talk about the past time, I would turn my know to knew to mean clear, right? So she knew, and this is possible only with the finite verb, right? Now coming back to the topic, what is a compound sentence? A compound sentence is a sentence which has two or more main clauses, no subordinate clause, therefore two or more finite verbs, and they are joined with a coordinating conjunction or a correlative conjunction. They play badminton every day, so they have improved their game. Now, can you mark two main clauses in this sentence? Let's mark it together. They play badminton every day and they have improved their game. Two complete information, right? And how are they joined? They are joined using the coordinating conjunction so. So, this is a perfect example of a compound sentence. Now that we have gone over the basics, let's head on to transform a simple sentence into a compound sentence and vice versa while retaining the same meaning. Now first of all, we'll learn how we can transform a sentence, a simple sentence with a gerund phrase, into a compound sentence. For example, teacher punished the boy for misbehaving. Now can you mark two verbs in the sentence? Yes, it is punished and misbehaving. Now punished is a finite verb, right? And misbehaving is a participle form, a part of a gerund phrase. Now we have an independent clause with the teacher punished the boy. As we know that to form a compound sentence, we need two or more independent clauses. Now what we are going to do here is we are going to stretch the phrase into an independent clause, right? So we have a compound sentence like this. The teacher punished the boy for he misbehaved. Now question arises, why did we use for? Because this sentence is showing a kind of cause and effect relationship. Therefore we use for to reflect the same, right? Now give it a try to this sentence. Hearing his father's footsteps, the boy ran away. Now quickly scan two verbs in this sentence. You might see one finite verb and another infinite verb. Now what you have to do here is, you need to leave the independent clause with the finite verb as it is, and you need to stretch the phrase with an infinite verb into a clause to form a compound sentence. And we have a compound sentence like, the boy heard his father's footsteps and ran away. Now two important points are worth considering here. Number one, notice, do we have a subject in the second clause? Why so? Because the doer of the action means the subject of both the independent clauses is the same. So when we have the same subject, when we have the same doer of the action, we have an option to omit the subject in the second clause, in the second independent clause. Now notice, can you see that I have turned misbehaving into misbehaved and hearing into heard? Why did I do so? Because this is just to keep the verb congruent with the other finite verb in the independent clause, right? And that is in the past tense. So next time when you are turning your infinite verb, you need to refer back to the finite verb of your independent clause to make the another independent clause accordingly. So far we have learned how we can transform a gerund phrase into a clause. Now we are going to learn how we can transform an infinitive phrase into an independent clause so that we can form a compound sentence. Suppose we have a simple sentence like this. She must train to win the competition. Now what we have to do here, same way we have to identify the two verbs in the sentence. Now you'll find that there is also a one infinite verb and other infinite verb, right? So we need to keep the sentence with the finite verb as it is as our first independent clause, and we have to stretch out the infinitive phrase into a clause. So therefore we have a compound sentence like this. She must train or she will not win the competition. Now can you guess why to use or as a coordinating conjunction and will in the second independent clause? So the answer is, or is used to show the ominous tone reflected by the first independent clause, which means in our present case, the first sentence is giving a warning expression that if she doesn't train herself, something bad is going to happen in the future. And that is why I used will in the second clause, because it is the result she's going to get in the future. Think how you can choose the coordinating conjunction to join two independent clauses to form a compound sentence, I suggest watching my video series on conjunction. Now, if you have a prepositional phrase into a simple sentence, then what you're going to do? For example, you have a sentence like, in spite working hard, or despite working hard, she did not succeed. Now leave the sentence with the finite verb as it is as your first independent clause, and you need to stretch out the phrase into a clause, and your compound sentence will be like, she worked hard yet she did not succeed. Now are you ready to turn a compound sentence into a simple sentence? As to change a simple sentence into a compound sentence, we have stretched out various phrases into clauses. Now in this case we'll go vice versa. That means clauses have to be reduced into various phrases, into a participle phrase or a prepositional phrase or an infinitive phrase. So let's try this with an exercise. He got up and walked away. A compound sentence. Getting up, he walked away. A simple sentence. What did I do here? I turned a clause, he got up, into a participle phrase, getting up. Now I want you to try these sentences one by one with me. He was lazy, therefore he failed. A compound sentence. Turn it into a simple sentence. Being lazy, he failed. He must run fast or he will not catch the train. A compound sentence. Simple sentence will be, he must run fast to catch the train. Now I'm going to give you a link in the description box to an exercise. Try doing it and post your answer in the comment box. Thank you. Happy studies. Bye-bye.